we have to do something to honor these great souls. So somehow, by Krishna's grace, I'm able to remember in New York City that not only Srila Prabhupada came there and sacrificed, but so many other devotees who are here today, like Rupa and so many others, and Rupa Prabhu, they helped blaze the trail in New York City, which is the greatest preaching field in the entire world. But what is that preaching? Of course, it's Hari Kirtan, but it's also Goraksha. As many of you know, Srila Prabhupada in his last days, he spoke about his desire for Varnashram. Varnashram, he described, when I was there speaking, he was explaining that it means to live off the land. And of course, living off the land requires relationship to the cow and the bull. We are, if we are to be human beings, we must take shelter of the father and the mother who have been given by Krishna, who have been given by the Devtas for the human society. Without the cow and the bull, we cannot actually consider ourselves to be in the human society. So when Srila Prabhupada was in his last months, realizing that it was time to go, he expressed anxiety about his mission not being completed. And he said that 50% of my work was not complete. I was present when he said that. Because I have not established Varnashram. Now I noticed that many times we subtly seem to think that the 50% meaning is that there's another project that we have to do. But that's actually not the meaning of 50%. 50% is half of 100%. It means the entire work includes not only Hari Kirtan, but Varnashram. And of course, the heart of Varnashram is Father Bull and Mother Cow. By taking shelter of cow, this is where the results of Jagya are received. Krishna says that in the beginning, I sent forth generations of men and demigods and blessed them with Jagya. Bless them that all good things, all benefits will come to you. What are those benefits? The benefits come through the cow. The benefits are ghee, milk, and the loving association of cow. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have not fully manifested Srila Prabhupada's mission. We've remained stuck in the cities. We think that if we see some householders putting a nice deity in their house in the city, that we've succeeded at something. But it's not having any benefit really in practical terms until those householders move into a life of Krishi Goraksha, living on the land and living with the cow. Because then they become actual human beings by joining the family of human beings. So Rupa Prabhu, he set a standard, gave his life for the cows. He absorbed the love of the cows, manifested that love in practical terms. And I've heard from some of his human children how they were moved by him. And I was reminded by Kushamataji what a fondness he had for some of those children. Most notably, she mentioned Nandu. So Nandu, I think the future for you is clearly defined. That if this love you feel is allowed to manifest, your life will be a success. If your appreciation for Rupa Prabhu is truly expressed, then you will follow in his footsteps and you will continue his work. Surely this is the message that he wanted to convey to you when he called you to come to his side. He wasn't looking for some sympathy or some temporary comfort. He was looking to pass on his legacy. So if we're actually going to honor Srila Prabhupada, so many other great soldiers in Mahaprabhu's army, if we're going to honor them, then we should follow in their footsteps. We should express their mission in our life, in our work. Let's not just have crocodile tears, but let's go out with courage and throw our lives into the mission. Let's go on the streets and bring Hari Kirtan in the streets, as Srila Prabhupada did. And let's put our arms around Mother Cow and devote our lives. Only this will give some hope to saving this world. Now India is almost finished. 90% of the desi cows are finished. They've been slaughtered. And I'm recently speaking in some villages on this subject. I was telling the newspapers, your Amul, your so-called great dairy cooperatives, is a greater enemy to India than Pakistan. Pakistan is a mosquito. Some interesting news, 1 bullet, 2 bullets. Some Jamela politicians can speak. It's nothing. Meanwhile, silently, the Indian cow is the food for the Muslim world. They're being exported to the Middle Eastern countries. India is the second largest exporter of leather in the world, next to Argentina, which is a declared beef country. India's right there competing and very piously pretending, oh yes, we're Hindus. India's almost gone, almost destroyed. In the 45 years I've been seeing India, it's almost gone. And the piety is preserved in Mother Cow and expressed in Goraksha, service to cow. So don't just stay safe in the institution. Go out. You see, who are those great devotees? They didn't get a writ from the institutional leaders. Okay, here's your mandate. You go do this. You'll be a great man. Every one of them went out in a revolutionary spirit and did what no one had asked them to do, except Guru Krishna. So let's take this day to make some commitments in our heart, real commitments. Let's be real human beings. Let's be devotees, actual devotees, not Kali Chelas, just getting some food and hiding in the institution. Let's be bold and spread this movement. And it includes both these things, Hari Kirtan, Goraksha. So express our love in action. I will myself take this in my heart, in my life, and make some practical action. And I encourage you to all do the same. Also, forgive my offenses, and that's all. Hare Krishna.
So we'd like to thank Abhiram Prabhu for making some very salient points. 50% doesn't mean another project. It means completing the missional project, which is Harinam Sankirtan. He's coming all the way from New York from the Harinam Sankirtan party that's going on there, straight here to Vrindavan. So Harinam and taking care of the cows. So next I'd like to ask Rupa Devi to please make
Hare Krishna. I'd like to offer my obeisances to my Grand Spiritual Master and main Siksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishvadaya Krishna Pristaya Vitale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pachayine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasataya Satarine. Then I would like to take permission and blessings from all my seniors here, headed by Balabhadra Prabhu, who's my main authority here. Then I would like to offer my deepest and most sincere respects to Rupa Prabhu, who from 2005 until 2008, he was my direct mentor. He taught me everything about cows from the moment that the early days of the day, the early hours of the day, throughout the day, their care, medical, and then how to honor them as well when they pass away. Not only that, but most importantly, through his example and his instructions about spiritual life, he's been a guide for me since then, for my own spiritual life. I think that just to set the scene for Kumaruba, and I think he would like to hear, I was just reading a couple of days ago, because just a few days ago he spoke to Bibi Govinda Swami, and Kumaruba said to Maharaj that he only wanted to serve Gopal, and he only wanted to serve the cows. So to go from where he was from at the beginning of care for cows until that end that he had, he developed many qualities through the service that Krishna gave him. So I think that it is very appropriate that I read it's just a couple of lines I was reading. So since he only wanted to serve Gopal, when Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna attained the age of Pukanda, 6, while living in Vrindavan, the cowherd men allowed them to take up the task of tending the cows. Engaging thus in the company of their friends, the two boys rendered the land of Vrindavan most auspicious by imprinting upon it the marks of their lotus feet. So then Nanda Maharaj asked for, he asked, so this is Snigdhakanta speaking in the assembly of Nanda Maharaj. He's saying, Nanda said, should we hold a celebration of cow herding? So they considered it, and then they granted the permission so that the boys could go out and tend the cows. Immediately, on hearing this, Nanda gave consent in the assembly. Upananda and others, on gaining consent, became happy and inquired from the famous astrologers. The astrologers advised that the two boys should begin herding the cows on the 8th lunar day of the waxing moon in Kartik month, during Shravana constellation on Wednesday. On hearing the auspicious moment chosen, the wise derived pleasure. So then Nanda Baba held a festival for 3 days. On that auspicious day, Krishna departed with the cows along with Balaram. And then now is Yashoda speaking. She says, O Balaram, remain in front of your friend Krishna. O Subal, stay behind him. O Dam, O Sudam, you too should remain at his sides. All others remain around him. Instructing all the children and assigning them their jobs, she showered them with her tears. So clearly, for the conversation that Kumarupa had, his last conversation with Bibi Govinda Swami, that's exactly where he wanted to be. And for this, as I said before, he, and like Balabaja Prabhu was saying, as he went along in his service, he developed those qualities that allowed him really, they transform him by being with the cows and allow him to have this path into the next life for him. I'm just taking a few notes of his, what I learned from him really was, other than obviously the obvious care of the cows, was how introspective and how serious he was about his spiritual life. He was very, very sober at all times, and his integrity was such an integrity. He never compromised with what he believed in, which was caring for cows to that extreme that he did. As normally people say, he really walked his talk. He was extremely responsible and duty-bounded, and that we can see from the very beginning. When I joined him, it was 2005, as I mentioned, but he explained to me how he started, that you mentioned as well. With those couple of cows that he took the vrata of feeding during Kartik time, at the end of Kartik, then his seva, in a sense, was over. So, but no, he considered that it was his duty now to take care of those cows and to continue the service that he considered that he had just come to him. So for that, he started to have to depend on Krishna, because the first thing that anybody needs, anybody who has cows, the first thing needed is land. So I can't remember the name of this devotee who had his guru. He was one of these babas in Radhakund. Yeah, Radhajiva. In Radhakund. So then he lent him the land for the cows. But for that he had to depend on Krishna. And then because he took that step of taking the service that Krishna gave him, then Krishna sent him whatever he needed. I must say that, I must mention that Krishna sent him the perfect help with Shyam Gauri and Dr. Lavanya. Shyam Gauri was doing the care at Care for Cows. She was an angel. She was an absolute angel. She had the whole herd on her hand, really. And she cared for all the children, for all the cows and calves and bulls, like a real mother. So I was trained by her. I was so lucky to be trained by her, Rupa on her care in the mornings, and then in the afternoons. I was with Rupa from 4 to 7. He would arrive around 4, and then in the mornings. Then she instructed me how to clean the cows, how to care for them. When there was a heavy case, then Dr. Lavanya came and to have operations. And then when there were heavy operations, then Rupa came as well. And then the morning started by feeding lunch to the sick cows. Those who were not sick, then they didn't have lunch. So Krishna sent really the necessary to Rupa, because he was so decided to invest himself in the service that Krishna had given him. So then, when I met him, he had 82 cows. No, he had 82 sponsored cows and 102 non-sponsored. 102 in total, out of which 82 were already sponsored. But now at the end he had something like 600, but in different places, where he looked after them in different places, or something like that. Yeah. So, Vasugosh Prabhu, is something like that. You don't know. All right. Okay. So yes. So then he had, but this was not. It didn't come just without any pain. He had to go through so much difficulty, for which the first thing he had to do was he was always dependent on Krishna, he said. So then we had Belvan. Sorry, at that time then we were in Madhuban colony, and the first problem that we encountered is that that wall that this devotee wanted to recover his land. Obviously, we saw at that time that Kripalu was building his mega house next door, and that all the land was booming, the prices were booming. So then he worked out very quickly that, hey, I'm losing money here by having just the cows in my land. So then he told Kumarupa, I want my land. So then he negotiated, and but then they came to the agreement to build a wall. So I mean, Kumarupa didn't agree, but they built the wall. So that wall was like worse than the burning wall. It started with just a little bit, and then when we saw that wall at the very end of it, then there was no space for the cows there. So then Kumarupa once again had to depend on Krishna again, and because he had such a good relationships with all the Babas around and everything, and everybody respected him, then he wrote me an email, and he said that he had found Belvan. So he said it's going to be really good, and the good news is that your Nakula is going there. So it was not good news for me at all, because I wanted to have my cows around. So at that time, I had 4 cows with him. I had Sakivrinda, Nakula, Gorangi, and Kalakrishna. All were very badly injured, except for Nakula. But Kurmarupa liked cows, obviously, but Kurmarupa mainly liked his bulls. He loved his boys. But so then he thought, oh, Nakula is in good health, let's send him to Belvan, and then we keep here just the sick cows. So that was something I had to go through. But then another quality that Kumarupa had is that he used all his personal skills on Krishna's service. So he was extremely, because he was a journalist before, he was extremely skilled and communicative and articulate on writing. So he must have had very, very well-respected Mercury somewhere there. But he was very communicative, and he was very artistic. He created this website with those little 3 films, and he did the newsletter. And in that newsletter, in fact, it was not just a newsletter, it was doing his bhajan through that newsletter, because at the very beginning and at the very end, he was always writing his meditation on the cows. He was giving knowledge about the cows from the scriptures, and he was progressing himself as he was doing every month that newsletter. And mainly in those newsletters, and what he was portraying was his deepest love for the cows. It was not just a sentimental thing from the heart like that. It was like really from his soul. It was so deep, and it was so deep that people throughout the world, from another side of the planet, could catch on that. And then they would say, here is some money of my earned money from my paycheck for you at the end of the month. So through his love, he could transmit all that to people around the world. So that was one of the things. He's just using whatever he had on Krishna's service. And then Krishna gave him whatever he needed again. He gave him, Kumarupa never had money problems, because immediately all the subscriptions came. And I mean, not all, but constantly subscriptions came, and he was like generous to a fault. Really, he was generous to a fault. He would give money to everybody and anybody. I mean, to everybody. No, he would give money. No, first of all, the plan of Belvan, then it didn't come just like that. So the Baba was ready to take the cows, but Kumarupa had to pay. He had to pay for the troughs, he had to pay for the shelter, so he was giving money there. So then Belvan was okay. And then afterwards, then what I was saying about the money that was coming, He even paid the bills of Sudevi. Sudevi was a German girl who had a goshala in Radhakund, and she couldn't afford paying for the cows there. So then again, Kurma Rupa was paying for that as well. He would pay really for anybody who sincerely wanted to look after cows. I mean, he even paid for people who had the money to pay for cows, but they didn't want to pay for the cows just because they were street cows. So some people, they are very, I think I must say that now, they are very keen to get to pattern on the cows when they are inside a wall or in a goshala. But in fact, all of Kurma Rupa's cows were from the street. So that was he never made any difference there. So he was very generous. And then he had to go through, obviously, the problem of the trucks that were coming at night. And then again, Krishna granted him a great, great opportunity there, because the trucks were coming at the night, and then his shift was from 12 to 4. He was there. So then I asked him, what do you do, Prabhu, from 12 to 4 there? I thought he was going to say, oh, I sleep here or something. He said, no, I'm chanting. The 4 hours he was chanting. So again, he was progressing into his sadhana, in his spiritual life. So I would just a few days ago, I was speaking with Sri Ram Swami, and he said that he heard from Srila Prabhupada that Krishna is most available from 12 to 4, and I thought, look, and Krishna and Kurma Rupa was just chanting his rounds there at that time. That's all. I mean, he had another problem again, that he had to again depend on Krishna, and that one was really heavy for him. Is when the rabies come in 2008. Kurma Rupa had accepted a couple of cows from the street, and one of them had rabies. So they put them in the pen of Maikala Krishna, and then they infected so many cows in the Goshala, and including Michael Krishna, who died for that. So again, that was a big problem for him. And then it was in 2008 when Casey arrived. And when Casey arrived, he just went exactly into the mold. He loved it from the beginning. And then because Shyam Gauri left unexpectedly, so then from there. Then it's history. People know what Casey's been so dedicated, and he's just perfection in looking after cows in the way that Kurma Rupa trained us to do. So I think that this would not be my words would not end properly unless I read just again one little paragraph about how Krishna received Gopakumar when he arrives in Goloka. So this is Krishna is with the cows. So Krishna is with the cows and with his friends. And then when around 4:30 he comes back from the forest, and everybody from Braj they go to greet him. So Gopal Kumar is speaking, and he's saying, I too went forward as if pulled by someone, joining the throng of gopis, rushing forward on all sides. I too began to run quickly. Then, from a distance, I saw him, his charming flute in hand, running quickly towards Gopakumar. He emerged from amongst his friends and animals and approached me. He left them all behind. He approached Gopakumar, saying in a sweet voice, Look, Sridham, here is my dear friend Sarupa, the sun who shines on the lotus of your family. He leaped forward and came close to me, compelled by the affection of his helpless devotee. I fainted in love, and seeing him, he caught hold of me by the neck, and suddenly he too fell on the ground. A moment later, I reawoke and carefully freed my neck from his grasp. I stood up and saw him on the ground, in a faint, moistening the dust-covered path of his tears. So that was Krishna, fainting because he saw his devotee coming back to him. His cowherd boy, Gopakumar, was coming back to him, and then Krishna fainted, and he embraced him, and they both fell on the floor, and they rolled on the floor. So that's all I would like to say. I wanted to end with Kumarupa's favorite song. So can you put it on? It's sung by children. And I just found it on the internet like 2 days ago. I just wanted to say a last thing, because I forgot to say this. Yesterday I was speaking to Rupa Prabhu, and because sometimes I used to call Kumarupa very affectionately Guruji, and then Rupa said that in fact Kumarupa was very was very detached. But I was thinking about it. I don't think he was detached, but he was always so renounced. He was extremely renounced. So that's to say that about Guruji.
So we'd like to thank Vrindavan for giving glimpses of the wonderful qualities that Kumarupa developed by H.G.Kurma and all the tests and how Krishna saved him and things like that. So next I'd like to request Gopal to please make his Shravanjali at the lotus feet of Kumarupa.
Namo Namaha. Recently I've been reflecting on how ISKCON has expanded. In the mid-60s, when ISKCON was founded and Srila Prabhupada started his mission, none of us could have imagined having such ceremonies or memorials as we are experiencing today, and just a few weeks back with Brahmananda Prabhu, and also now because of social media, every day we are seeing that more and more devotees are leaving this mortal world. Hopefully all of them are going back to Godhead. But for all of us, please keep in mind that for those of you who attended the cremation of Kurma Rupa Prabhu, this is our final destiny here in this material world. So there's a word that is used quite often in the Vedic scriptures, and that word is dhira. Dhira means to be sober. So we must, in all of our activities, whatever we are doing from our daily routines, be very sober and be conscious of why we are dressed in saffron, why we are shaving our heads, why we are wearing tilak, and engage in a service such as Kurma Rupa Prabhu. When I first met him, he hadn't begun herding cows. At that time, he was herding the Guru Kuli boys. And as we have heard so nicely from some of his students, that he was very exemplary and compassionate to their needs. For us older devotees, especially after Srila Prabhupada left this material lila, we saw many changes and transitions that ISKCON went through. And those that were weak became discouraged and left. Those that were strong, even in all of these difficult times, remained firm and faithful to whatever instructions they were able to assimilate that they had gotten from Srila Prabhupada. We also saw in the faces and the behavior of devotees who, of course, in the beginning everyone is a neophyte, kanishta, adhikari, who know little or nothing of spiritual life or their purpose for being here in this material world. But as we watch our God brothers and God sisters, and even those who are younger than us, progress day to day, if we are wise and in intelligence, we can see in their demeanor and their behavior how they are making spiritual advancement. And envy is not a good thing, but Srila Prabhupada had always says, it's okay to be envious if someone is more advanced than you, because that will give you the stimulation to work harder. And for Kurma Rupa Prabhu, when he was teaching and involved with the Gurukul, he wasn't 100% happy. It wasn't until, as so nicely described, at this time he was living in Achyuta's house, which has a big wooden gate in front of it, where he was introduced to his destiny, and that is to, of course, nurture and care for those discarded creatures that no one wanted anything to do with, bringing them back to health, mending their broken limbs, gashes, and what other ailments, malnutrition, all of these things he attended to, and his patients, his friends, his family increased exponentially, day by day, more and more and more cows, bulls, calves, all would come. And just as we see here, how lovingly he is holding that cow, and she is reciprocating. You can feel and see the love in her eyes, equally as much love that is in the eyes of Kurma for that particular cow. So we are all very, very fortunate. There came a time when he became so involved with his Go project that he didn't have time to associate with us here in the temple. He would be at his Goshala nurturing his family. The father must take care of the family, and he was a father to many, 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 many cows. So a lot of us never really had the chance to meet or have interaction with Kurma and see how saintly and how wonderful his character was. I first knew him, of course, as I said, when he was living in the Gurukul, and I was living also there in the Gurukul on the opposite side of that. And we didn't have time to talk. But later, when I returned to Vrindavan after some physical disabilities, we were able to have some time together, but he was always busy. You would see him, if you saw him at all, zipping around on his little motor scooter, going here and there, buying necessities for his family. But he always took time. When he saw me, he would stop, and he always told me that it makes me always so happy to see you because of all of the devotees in Vrindavan. You are the only one who is always chanting. So that made me feel very good. Today, I know that if you stand in front of Krishna Balaram and you listen very carefully, you will hear them say, welcome home. It's taken a while, but now you're here. and we have a lot of work for you. But fortunately, you don't need any training. Because you're already so expert in herding and taking care of cows. But beware that in the beginning there may be some hazing by myself and all of these boys because you are new. But take this in jest, it's only temporary. And we will play every day, and at night, at dusk, we will all go back to Vrindavan covered in dust from the hooves of all of the cows we have been tending to during the day. And each of our mothers will be there waiting for us with open arms. And take us into their homes, wash, feed us, and put us to bed. And then again, early in the morning, you will all come to my house and help Mother Yasoda choose which clothes I wear for that day. And then we will all again march out into the forest, followed by hundreds and hundreds and thousands of little calves. So we know that Nanda Maharaj had 900,000 cows. And each of those cows had a calf. Only one person had more cows than Nanda Maharaj. And who was that? No, Krishna's cows were his father's. Vrishabhanu, King Vrishabhanu, he had 1 million cows. So he had a few more cows than Nanda Maharaj. But Krishna and all of the cowherd boys are there. And we know now that because of his dedication and love for the cows here, he is with Krishna, helping Krishna with these wonderful, wonderful cows of Goloka Vrindavan. So it's always inspiring to meet devotees like Kurma Rupa, because it gives you the realization that this process that was so kindly brought to us by Srila Prabhupada actually works. So it's possible in this lifetime to go back home, back to Godhead. But you must become pure of heart. And Krishna instructs, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and surely you will come to me. So this was how Kurma Rupa lived, and this is how he left this material world. He left as a teacher for us to try to emulate his pure character of heart and become serious about your service. Bhakti yoga means what? The yoga of service. So we all have a service which we may perform. It might not be like Kurma's caring for cows, Bhagavad Gita says it's better to be a sincere sweeper of the street than a charlatan meditator. So, I just want to again conclude by saying thank you, Kurma, for being a friend and always having kind words for everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Prabhu ki. So we'd like to thank Gopal Prabhu for a very beautiful meditation of what going with Guru right now. So next we'd like to ask Devarata Prabhu to offer his Shraddhanjali to his Gita.
Kurma Rupa Prabhu ki. So I've known Kurma Rupa for quite a long time. I don't remember meeting him on 55th Street like Hansa Rupa, but we were there. It was a big temple and we were on traveling Sankirtan most of the time, but I did have a lot of his association on 7th Avenue. When the temple closed on 55th Street, we moved to 7th Avenue. And at that time, Kurma Rupa was a very innovative person. He's quite intelligent. And I think he was the spearhead and the one who started this street Sankirtan in the form of blood pressure tables. We had these tables, folding tables and folding chairs, and we would go on the subways in all the different boroughs of New York City and find nice places on the street to sit down and set up with 2 men on each table, and I would go with Kurma Rupa sometimes. And we would dress like maybe impersonating doctors or something like that. Nice white shirt, nice wig. But we had cases of books, Bhagavad Gitas and what's the Higher Taste Vegetarian Cookbook. And people loved us. They'd line up to get their blood pressure taken. They respected us very much. They would come up, they had a chair for them, they'd sit down, they'd take their blood pressure. We said, you need to stop eating meat. You need to stop killing the cow. So I think Kurma Rupa's love for the cow, I'm sure it was there before then, but I could say his care for cows started at that time, at least. And that was a very successful program. I don't know if they discontinued it for what reason, but the police were there. The police would line up and get their blood pressure taken, all kind of dignitaries and very polished businessmen and business ladies, and it was a wonderful program. So I think Kurma Rupa, at least he was the spearhead of that program. If he didn't, did he, Kurma Rupa, Hans Rupa, yeah. So, and then, what's the advertising? Oh, and then Kurma Rupa and I were together in Hartford, Connecticut. That was when the 55th Street Temple was still open. We had a temple in Hartford, Connecticut. It was like a satellite temple to the New York 55th Street Temple, and from there, they would send the devotees to, the new devotees to Hartford, Connecticut, and we would help to train them up for Sankirtan. So got a lot of his saintly association there, and Kurma Rupa was always very careful, I noted, to take very good care of the bhaktas, to make sure, of course, they were new men, to make sure they had nice prasad. Prasad was always available. And although I remember from 55th Street having, under other people's administration, having very strict quotas that we were really pressed to meet. When I was with Kurma Rupa in Hartford, Connecticut, he didn't impose that upon the devotees very much. He was always just very appreciative of just us being there and just going out on Sankirtan, and whatever small number of books we could distribute, or whatever small or big collections we could do, then he was very appreciative in any respect. We were both brahmacharis. Then later I got married. Then Kurma Rupa came to India, and I had some of his association in the Gurukul also. But we were always close friends, and I always appreciated Kurma Rupa. Like it was mentioned that he was very straightforward, very honest. If you dealt with Kurma Rupa, there was never any diplomacy or anything superficial, some ulterior motive or something like that. I'll miss Kurma Rupa a lot. I thought I was seeing him regularly before he left. I was going to read. He requested that I read from where he had left off before he just got ill. It was from the 7th canto. What Prahlad Maharaj learned in the womb. So we read that, and then as he got a little diminished in his condition, where actually I think it started because it came in later in the day, he said, let's read from Krishna book. He wanted to hear, and I was surprised, he's such a very staunch brahmachari, but he wanted to hear Krishna stealing the garments of the gopis. And I said, well, okay. I was a little surprised. I said, okay, so we read that. It was very blissful. And then the next day he said, I want to hear all about, from the beginning to the end, the Govardhan Leela. So we read for a couple of days, and then he was moved out to Kiki Nagara, and got a chance to serve him in that way a couple other times. Anyway, Kurma Rupa was a very real devotee, non-duplicitous, and we can all be inspired by his service. He was a real hero in the sense that all of us have, being devotees of Lord Krishna, we have feelings for the cows. We want to see the cows protected. And it's difficult for devotees to see how the cows are so mistreated and neglected in the streets and everything. But Kurma is one personality who took that really to heart and was doing what most of us feel like we'd like to be, maybe we'd at least like to be supporting, we'd like to be doing. But he's a real hero in that regard. And he really bonded very well with the cows. I was very amazed. I saw Kurma Rupa with these bulls they used to take on Padayatra. These, what's the name of those bulls? Concrete. Close, concrete. My pronunciation sometimes is off. Massive horns, these big, massive horns. And I'm thinking, man, we don't want to get close to that guy. Kurma Rupa was right up there, just with a little turn of his head, he could crush your skull. And Kurma Rupa's there maneuvering around the bull, like, he has no horns at all, and he's completely at ease and confident with the cows. So he was, Krishna definitely gave him an ability to do that, and he's sharing that and trying to share that with his